little bit of a wrinkle today, a problem here today, a new challenge, Alice. Just when we thought the Planet Fitness issue was over.
Uh-oh.
It's not what you think. So now the bridge is out. If people don't know, there's a bridge over the Merrimack River, and the bridge is out because
a too-tall truck ran into it.
Yeah, a too-tall truck ran into it. And that bridge provided a straight shot from my house to my Planet Fitness, my new Planet Fitness, since we've mended fences with corporate, since the old place was abusing me. So, straight shot. The bridge is out for the foreseeable future. So now I had to go the long way, all the way down the river and around, and
So you take the other bridge in Newburyport that way?
Yes, yes, and so that took over 33 minutes today.
Oh, no.
Right, which is no bueno. And then when I got in there to the Planet Fitness, there's a dude now. There usually is a young lady there. This dude, I use my little pass, and he goes, welcome, I hope everything's all right, man. And I said, yeah, great. And he goes, oh, you know what, man, you should really get the app. You really should try the app. And so I said, oh, yeah, I it was a whole thing. I had the app at one time, and then he's like, all you do is come in and just go, boo. It just takes a couple seconds. I'm like, fuck. Are we really gonna do this? Or do I have to now give him the transcript of how I once had the app, and then there was a whole bunch of problems, and then the app was taken from me because I became a bad person, and then the Planet Fitness issued me a solid thing instead, and I went to corporate and I had to wait for it, and they had to do thing, and it took weeks. It was like, so now you gotta wait. And I said, oh, okay, maybe I am. Or I said, there was a whole thing, and he's like, oh, the app is so much easier. We gonna have the conversation every time. What more vibe can I put out there that I don't want to engage? I have my headphones on, these like this big headphones. I'm listening to something. I am not trying to be social. I want to walk in, hit the damn thing. Don't want to talk about the app. It should say in the notes field.
Tom Shattuck doesn't want to talk about apps.
No, it should say in the effing notes field, in serious, that this guy's got a complicated history with Planet Fitness, and just leaving and that should be enough so that I say I'm not into it. Just anyway, so it made me angry, and so now I'm going to have to rethink everything.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that's where we are now. If we live right by the station, there is literally a gym across the street from the WTAC where Alice Shattuck made her second appearance in 1 week today to great fanfare. Alice, you're into it, huh?
I enjoyed it.
Good.
I still wish I had more time to talk.
Yeah.
Between all the breaks and everything. It's like no time at all.
I know. Believe me, I know. Yeah. So, and you did a great job. You're very popular. And then we put the picture of you essentially.
I was clothed in it.
You were clothed, but it was a very bosomy picture of some of our merchandise, which is a great shot of you, I must say.
Speaking of merchandise.
Yes, which brings us to the merchandise. So there is officially new merch. Have we talked to the Burn Barrel listeners about this?
No, I'm going to explain because this is actually merchandise and an activity. Because we've had a complaint. Friend of the show, Leslie, who you know, feels that the moniker Shatheads is not to her liking, which I agree with, by the way. I've never liked the word Shathead. I feel that I just don't like it. And I know Toast, friend of the show, also feels the same way. She's not into the Shathead thing either.
So what we're dealing with here is that unsurprisingly, people with class don't like it.
Yes.
And so I understand that, and I think that that's why we've never fully embraced it, but it was there, and the people, a lot of my guys, of course, invented it and love it, and think it's great, and they are classless like me, and so, and also, I mean, it is a very...
Well, yeah. It's been requested in the past that I make Shathead merchandise, and I have refused because
come on.
I hate it, and I don't want to be involved in making Shathead merchandise. Well, now for a limited time.
Ooh, is that true?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. So I made a deal with Leslie because she hates the word shathead. And she suggested burn bros and burn babes instead. So I have now made all 3 types of merchandise for the website in a variety of colors, t-shirts, sweatshirts, person who wants zip-up hoodies. There's now zip-up hoodies on there for you too in several designs, so you can choose from those. There's a variety, and you can choose whether you want to be a shathead or a burn bro or a burn babe. And I'm thinking we let this go for 1 month. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Sure.
And then whichever one, whether it's the shatheads or the burn bros and babes, whichever one sells less items of, I'm going to go not by dollars, but purely by number of items sold. So there's even stickers that are like $3.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever one sells less, I'm taking down. So if you want shatheads, you better fight for it. That's all I can say.
Oh, all right.
So you can vote with your merch purchases.
I will check it out. Let me see.
If you want to be a shathead, this is your chance.
I'm on burnbarrelpodcast.com.
Now you hit the shop link up on the top,
shop
right?
link. I don't know if you necessarily have to walk me through this, Alice.
I have a customer service background. So you can choose. Are you a
Can you
shathead?
change the model? The model is kind of...
I can't change the model.
You
It
get a
does that
better endowed-
automatically.
Then we gotta make you the model. I need somebody more better endowed.
It puts in people automatically. There's other ones further down. There's a girl in a beige shathead sweatshirt further down that looks cute.
Okay. Upon first glance on these,
Mm-hmm.
I love these.
You like them?
I love these. I think this is awesome. Holy.
Okay.
That is really cool.
So are you going to be a burn bro or are you going to be a shathead?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to be a bro of any kind. I'm not going to...
You're not going to wear things around that say
Tom
shathead.
Shattuck cannot walk around, the Shaddocks came over on wooden boats a long time ago. They didn't envision a day, someday, a few hundred years from now, hopefully, one of us will be able to communicate to thousands and thousands of people and be so comfortable in his day-to-day that he's corpulent and refers to himself as a shathead. Someday, if we make this journey, let's just endeavor to survive.
Well, I guess there's not going to be shathead merchandise for very long then.
I'm sorry. This
It's going to
shathead
disappear
girl
off the earth.
She's selling me on shathead. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. Maybe because she's attractive. Maybe that's all it takes.
So 1 month from today.
I'm sorry about this.
What's
this is
today? Today's April 7th. On May 7th.
The shathead stuff looks awesome.
The burn babe stuff looks good
Alice.
too.
Why did you make them both good? Why didn't you make one
I made them both equally good. They both look good. They both come in the same items. If I miss something somewhere that only comes in one, let me know. But so it will end on Saturday, May 7th, and on Sunday, May 8th on our show that day.
Alice. If there's a woman,
I will announce.
I like you. You know that, right? But if there's a woman who's not my wife who
wears shathead merchandise,
I will have an unhealthy crush.
I like the burn babe ones. I might be getting myself a navy blue burn babe sweatshirt.
My goodness, why don't we just primarily go into
the merch business?
Yeah.
Well, I
don't
really like
this chick. Change her out.
I can't change her out.
Sounds like Amy Schumer.
It just comes that way. I'm sorry.
No,
it just puts it on automatically. I can't change it.
Although she does have Drew Barrymore's lips. Maybe I should have filtered that out before I said it. All right, so I think
that's
these
the
are
merchandise
great.
update. If you've been one of the people asking me for shathead merchandise,
if you're a woman and you wear a shathead sweatshirt, I love you.
Stop! I'm not wearing a shathead sweatshirt. I'm gonna wear some burn babe merchandise, and Leslie's gonna wear burn babe merchandise. And she's going to tell all her friends to get Burn Babe merchandise. So if you want the shathead merchandise after May 7th, then you better buy some of it. So that's my merchandise announcement. I also think that the idea that we were talking about with Anthony on T2 today for kids merchandise is a really good idea. And I think I'm going to make that for my next project.
Kids?
So, because we were talking about how little girls' t-shirts at the store, they sell like all kinds of the future is female and girls can do anything.
Oh.
And that there's not a comparable market for boys' merchandise. So maybe we need to make some boys' merchandise in kids' sizes that says like boys can do anything and the future is male and stuff like that. And boys rule the world. Things like that. Because I don't see a lot of that out there, and I think there could potentially be a market. What do you think?
I think there could be. There could be.
So, I mean,
Am
because...
I coming out? Is my volume coming out here?
Yeah.
I think my headphones. Who cares? All right. Should we move on?
So, like, because if you Google the future is female shirt, there's, like, shirts everywhere from all kinds of brands make the future is female shirt.
Can we use
but
our
if you
own
search,
picture?
I don't
Why
think
do I have
so,
to be
maybe.
stuck with this Amy Schumer?
I'm sorry, I don't know. So
Can
if
you
I
order
search
one
the
for
future
yourself
is male,
so
I
I
see
can-
a lot of the future is male and female, and the future is transgender. But I honestly can't find any the future is male shirts. Let's say here's maybe one. This one says the future is male birth control. So, I mean, you know, I think there's potentially a market for some kids' shirts that really make little boys feel seen and loved and appreciated as much as we make little girls feel seen and loved and appreciated. Don't you, honey?
I think that's a great idea, Alice. I think that's a great idea. There was an important moment today that I'm substacking about today. As a matter of fact, online that I'd like to play for us right now. It's this panel, Disinformation and the Erosion of Democracy, with starring Brian Stelter. Hold on.
Brian Stelter.
Hold on. I'm going back and forth with John. I'm trying to get him to see a picture, which he's...
I mean,
Okay,
sorry.
Brian Stelter, and this kid asks him a question. A freshman asks him a question, because this is all about disinformation in the media. And this is the question and answer. On this panel are Brian Stelter, a lady I don't know, a dude I don't know, and Steve Hayes, who I do know, who I quite
Who
like.
you like, yes.
Yes, of the Dispatch.
Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Christopher Phillips. I'm a first year at the college. My question is for Mr. Stelter. You've all spoken extensively about Fox News being a purveyor of disinformation, but CNN is right up there with them. They pushed the Russian collusion hoax. They pushed the Jussie Smollett hoax. They smeared Justice Kavanaugh as a rapist, and they also smeared Nick Sandmann as a white supremacist. And yes, they dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop affair as pure Russian disinformation. With mainstream corporate journalists becoming little more than apologists and cheerleaders for the regime, is it time to finally declare that the canon of journalistic ethics is dead or no longer operative? All the mistakes of the mainstream media, and CNN in particular, seem to magically all go in one direction. Are we expected to believe that this is all just some sort of random coincidence, or is there something else behind it?
It's too bad. It's time for lunch.
You have 30 seconds.
No, I mean,
Brian.
there's a clock that says 30 seconds. But I think my honest answer to you, and I'll come over and talk in more detail after this, is that
No, don't talk in more detail after this. Talk right now.
I think you're describing a different channel than the one that I watch. But I understand that is a popular right-wing narrative about CNN. I think it's important.
He's not coming from a right-wing narrative. CNN was all over Sandman. CNN was all over Jussie. CNN was
No, he
on the
gave you specific examples of things that he said and that were said on that network. I mean, he had what's the stupid lawyer's name? The Kavanaugh guy.
Avenatti.
Michael Avenatti on and like took his presidential campaign seriously. Like you personally did that. It's not about what you saw on CNN, Brian. It's about people you literally had on and talked to and gave airtime to say insane things about Kavanaugh, for just as one example. I mean, these things aren't even disputable. They're not, this isn't a conversation. CNN actually said all those things that he listed off. I don't get, you're watching a different channel than he didn't talk about like a vibe or a feeling that he gets from CNN. He gave you specific points. You said this, you said this, you said this, you said this. You can respond specifically.
Exactly.
Democracy. All these networks, all these news outlets have to defend democracy. And when they screw up, admit it. But when Benjamin Hall, the Fox correspondent, was wounded in Ukraine, the news crews at CNN and the New York Times stopped what they were doing, and they tried to help. They tried to help him get out of the country.
What the hell does this have to do with anything? Anything.
They tried to find the dead crew members. That's what news outlets do. That's how they actually do work together, to your question about sharing those kinds of connections and trust. We don't talk about it enough, though. We don't share that reality about how that happens. And with regards to the regime...
You weren't sharing a reality about helping Fox people.
Yeah, he didn't ask you about would you rescue your fellow journalists if they were trapped under rubble, Brian. He asked you why you lie all the time, 24/7, and gave you a specific list of lies that you've pushed.
I think you mean the President Biden? The last time I spoke with a Biden aide, we yelled at each other. So that's the reality of the news business that people don't see, that people don't hear. They imagine that it's a situation that simply is not. But I think your question, it speaks to the failure of journalism to show our work and show the reality of how our profession operates. We have a lot of work to do, I think.
What a horse bleep answer. What a horse bleep answer. And I've seen a bunch of people on Twitter try to defend him. One guy say Demarant says, one, there was some level of, quote, collusion, wrong word. Mueller investigated for 2 years. They shouldn't report in real time? No, there wasn't some level of collusion. Well, no, I apologize. There was, but it was the other candidate who was colluding, who, if you had done reporting in that direction, you would have found out that there was. He says, Jussie Smollett reported a crime. No one knew at first the truth. Famous actor. They shouldn't report. No.
You can report that he reported a crime,
right?
But you don't all have to go around crying and saying that it was a lynching. Psychotics. They just believe everybody on their side at face value and push everything they say as total lies. Yeah, report in real time. But the problem is they're just taking things whole cloth from crazy activists, right? If you remember, during the election time frame, when Sidney Powell was pushing all this election stuff, she went to go be on Tucker, and she was saying all these things, and he asked her for verification, some kind of proof of all the stuff she was saying. He's like, if you have this stuff, can our team see it? And, or do you want to explain this? And she wouldn't come on to explain herself to him because he questioned her, and he pushed back on claims by crazy people with an agenda on his own side, even though I'm sure he would have liked her claims to be true and taken them at face value and would have liked to believe that that was the case, that she found out a secret plot to steal the election and had all the proof of it. But she just didn't, and it's people's responsibility, even when they're opinion people like Tucker is, right? He doesn't want to be responsible for pushing stuff that's total lies. So when he has people on that are on his team and they're making claims that can't be verified, how could you not, as a serious person with a tiny bit of common sense, push back on the claims Michael Avenatti and Julie Swetnick were making about Kavanaugh?
Of course.
I mean, I kind of understand Christine Blasey Ford just because she's obviously crazy, and so, maybe something somewhere happened to her at some point, but there was really no evidence of it, and that it had anything to do with Kavanaugh. She couldn't prove the two of them had ever met, ever. She couldn't find anybody who could verify that she had ever been in the same building with Kavanaugh ever. And, totally. So that's it's just impossible to go by that. But leaving Christine Blasey Ford aside, who was treated very seriously, she got to talk to Congress about it. She got to tell her story. She was heard, okay? It was investigated as much as it could possibly be investigated. We went through Brett Kavanaugh's social calendar from high school that he still had, because he's apparently the type of person who still has his calendar with all his, parties. Who even puts house parties on their calendar to start with? But okay.
Well, here's the thing about Kavanaugh that this guy says. He says Kavanaugh was being confirmed in front of the entire country. Blasey Ford testified under oath. I get the Avenatti accuser was BS, but again, they should pretend like this wasn't happening, say nothing. No.
No,
They
you
should-
don't have to have on people, accusers, who are obviously full of it. She was obviously a Looney Tune, just like when the police open up a tip line, right? You get maybe a couple useful tips, maybe if you're lucky, but you get thousands of calls from total lunatics who just say crazy stuff that has nothing to do with what you're doing and are trying to tie it back. And like there's aliens and time travel and who knows what else is going on in the crazy tip lines. That's what Julie Swetnick was, and Michael Avenatti was representing her, and you had the gall to treat his presidential campaign seriously. I mean, like, that's what we're talking about. The right cleans house. I'm sorry, like, there are crazy people on the right, but like they don't get airtime. You know what I mean? Like, even Mike Lindell, who's like not even that far right, doesn't get the time of day from anybody anymore,
Right.
because he was like too far out there on the election stuff. He got totally cut off. The left treats those people like heroes and like has them on and acts like they're presidential contenders. It's insanity. It's insanity. Imagine if like Tucker Carlson had on Mike Lindell as a potential presidential candidate and was like treating him seriously while he was claiming things that were out there like at the same time. It would just be unthinkable. You know, it wouldn't happen. And I don't understand what's wrong with the left, why they can't see that it just like kills their credibility. Like they complain all the time about being
Right.
called the lying media.
Well, he says the initial Sandman report was based on a misleading video, which is why you hold off.
Yeah.
Which is why you hold off to make sure to see. And that's not the only kind of person that would hold off on judgment is a journalist.
Exactly.
Because they want to verify stuff, because truth dies in darkness or whatever, and so you'd
Right.
wait.
I thought we were all very concerned about misleading videos online.
The idea that Stelter did not address any of these and went past it just shows that they know. But the fact is that this guy who I'm reading here, and Stelter, and everybody at CNN, the reason why they reported on all that stuff is they were over emotional. And they needed it to be true. God, please, it's got to be true. Because in their worldview, in his worldview, which includes going from Brooklyn Loft B to Brooklyn Loft C to Greenwich Village, Loft D to, Soho Loft F, whatever. Nobody would ever vote for Trump. Nobody would ever vote for. They know that Trump and everybody around him is horrible, and that Kavanaugh, I remember the kind of guy from college, probably drunk, date rapey, right? Because he's an evil Republican, right? Right. So when Trump won and all this stuff is happening, no, it has to be evil. It's gotta be. So yes, of course, Trump must be working with the Russians, because all of us know that we would never vote for him, so who voted for him? He must be working with the Russians.
The Russians stole the election.
Right, Russians stole the election, which Hillary Clinton used to say all the time.
Big lie.
Exactly. All of this stuff, because they were emotional. And so this guy, this particular tweeter, is looking back now and saying, on the facts, I can't say anything, so I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this as my D- story on why it's still okay. Well, they're not supposed to report that Jussie Smollett was beat up? Yeah, you're not supposed to report that. Because Tom Shattuck, who wasn't there, looked at him and said, he's not beat up. It's interesting that two Trump people in the middle of Chicago. I mean, there's some things that you should be. And also, he had a piece of twine around his neck. There was no. The reason why I thought initially, by reading the Jussie Smollett stuff, was that he wasn't beat up is because he wasn't beat up, and he wasn't. None of it happened. And
right,
stuff,
he still had the tuna sandwich.
I used to have a guy, an editor at a paper, used to call me a contrarian all the time. It's like, I'm a contrarian not because I'm just trying to be an a-hole. I'm a contrarian because my BS detector is set to sniff out horse bleep when I see it or when I sense it. It's like, come on. It was ridiculous. I remember immediately after the election. You remember in Malden, there was a woman in a hijab or something in Malden, a white fat guy with a Trump hat, whatever, yelled at her and said, "You're a stupid, Muslim. Trump's elected now, so you have to shut up," whatever. There was a hate crime reporter with that had. And I thought to myself, you know what? Should I just count the seconds? And the Malden police, like the next day or 2 days later, put out a thing saying this was a hoax. We talked to the person, etc. The story does not check out. Nothing.
I
checks
think the Malden one might have been a dude. Actually, I don't.
Oh,
remember.
whatever it was, but
but
still,
yeah, there was
the
definitely.
police, and the wording of it told you that the cops knew that it was BS, and they were not having it.
Yeah, the Malden person that I'm thinking of, if it's the same one that I'm thinking of, the guy came out with a statement too, saying
Yes.
like, I
Yes.
just got carried away. There were all these stories, and I, like.
But at the same time, Alice,
you know who
at the same
did-
time, but just as trying to be culturally persuasive as that is, in our town, people were offered therapy in little pets.
Oh, right.
And because it was awful, because Hillary, it was supposed to be history that night in the place, and then Trump. So we're offering counseling after a presidential election. If that's not a kind of grooming, what is?
Oh, yeah.
You
You're
need
telling
therapy
all
now.
the
I
kids.
need therapy now. Why? Because Trump.
And literally nothing had happened. The guy wasn't even president yet. So nothing could have happened to you yet from Trump because it was just the day after
But
the
that's
election.
why the left and the right, there's on the right, and we saw after January 6th, so obviously there's some on the right who internalize too much of this stuff. But the left is invested 100% emotionally in these narratives, mostly because they're emotional and romantic rather than analytical and pragmatic.
Right. It's funny because I think an extremely high percentage of those stories turned out to be hoaxes.
Yes.
I know that Reason Magazine did a really good tool. And I don't know if it's still up or not, but in the wake of the 2016 election, because there were all these hoaxes happening and a lot of them weren't getting followed up on, with the same level of fervor when they turned out to be hoaxes, so that they sort of fell off the map. They did a lot of following up and tracking each one to see what turned out to be hoaxes, and a lot of them were. I wonder if that's still up there somewhere, because that was really interesting. It was yes, hate crime reports surged after Trump was elected, but I don't know if the actual numbers of pro-Trump, anti-everybody else hate crimes actually made any difference afterwards. But it's sort of like the anti-Asian violence thing where it's oh, it's because Trump. And then you look at who is doing it and you're like, I don't think these are Trump supporters.
I've noticed them recently saying, a lot of people who talk about the Asian violence say, and no, it's not black men doing it.
It is, though.
Right, I know. But they add that in now. They insert that, they embed that with the statement, just so you know,
Right.
it's off limits and against the rules for
Or
you to
they'll
suggest.
put the disclaimer that it's because white supremacy has pitted minorities against each other and made them feel that
Which is at least a little more artful. It's obviously clinically insane, but at least it's more artful.
Yeah, it's trying, I guess. So, yeah, how do we even get onto the topic of that? Oh, right, CNN, Brian Stelter, and how they just fall for everything that fits their internal narrative. Too good to check. They just go with it. But, they're supposed to be a little better than that. They're supposed to be a little better than the idiots on Twitter and better than Kamala Harris, who says something's a modern-day lynching. I don't know if we ever covered, by the way, when they signed the anti-lynching bill into law. Did you know that up until just a couple weeks ago, lynching was completely legal in the United States? Biden's the first person to ever make it illegal. It's incredible. I'm so I'm so worn out from stupid stuff.
Did anybody vote against it?
I have no clue. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
It's dumb. Where are all the lynchings? Who's getting lynched?
Well, I would also think that you don't need federal legislation on lynching. I mean,
Isn't murdering people just illegal?
I thought so. By the way, all the real serious punishment for lynchings is coming in red states anyway.
Right. Whatever. I can't anymore with the
They used to try to
insanity.
get George W. Bush on this because there was a guy who was lynched, and to talk about in Bush said, and we executed him. So what do you want to know?
Yeah, what more
Yeah,
harsh
yeah,
punishment
right.
would you do for the lynching if it's a lynching instead of just a murder, other than the death penalty? What else do you want? The left just the intellectual dishonesty and stuff of it all. Some days I can't, but yeah, I see, and I don't know if it's just because I follow a lot of news stuff on Twitter, but I see so many ads for CNN Plus in my feed. I can't wait for that thing to die. I can't wait for it to die. What's gonna happen with like all these different who's gonna pay for CNN Plus? Like, what could possibly be on CNN Plus that would compel you to pay for another streaming service to get CNN? Like, just imagine that you're a regular person, right? Like, not us who are into the news a lot, right? Like, is it for people who've cut the cord with cable? Is that what it's supposed to be for?
I can't imagine. I mean, the brand is so diminished now. I mean, what's the use of it? If you're a good lefty and you don't want to hear news, but you want to hear activism, you've got MSNBC. Or better. I mean, there's better lefty outlets out there. You know, you can listen to the Young Turks. There you go.
So I'm looking. I went to go see how much this is. First of all, I'm confused. So for now, for a limited time, for up until April 26th only, I can get it for 50% off for life. So it's $3 a month or $60 a year.
Yeah.
Does something seem off about that to you?
Yes.
It's $3 a month or $60 a year.
Yeah, I don't know that that's...
I don't know that getting the year is a better deal. But let's see. I don't know like what the point. I don't know what would compel me to go watch this. Anderson Cooper, Sanjay Gupta, Poppy Harlow, Fareed Zakaria.
Those are all shysters.
Right.
Those are all fools and shysters. Those are all people who lost their minds when Donald Trump was president. Anderson Cooper, just like grinning, like a little bitchy grin, while Daniel Dale listed off the lies Trump said at the State of the Union, whatever, and Anderson Cooper like playing along and having a sip of coffee because, man, Daniel Dale just has all the lies just so in a row, and like Daniel Dale is like saying, and Anderson, Joe Biden said this, and Joe Biden said this. Like, why am I watching this bitch stream of conscious, the Trump lies, supposedly. It's like it was it's so small ball, and that's that kind of thing. It's that kind of thing that makes CNN is just such a kid. It's an amateur operation now. It sucks.
Oh, good. Live daily and weekly shows as they happen from familiar faces like Anderson Cooper and Poppy Harlow and fresh personalities like distinguished anchor Chris Wallace. Fresh personalities.
I like Chris Wallace, but he's 79 years old.
Yeah, he's not a fresh personality. No. And get this, another fresh personality, basketball legend Rex Chapman, famous for being addicted to opioids and stealing other people's social media content. You can watch him on CNN Plus. Where else can you get that kind of deal? Like, who would ever sign up for this? I just literally don't understand. Like,
that's
what
it.
value
I'm
that
available, CNN. If you
need. and who's Audie Cornish? Audie Cornish? I don't know who that is. I don't know. Acclaimed radio host.
Oh, that's right.
She's
Audie Cornish.
Audie Cornish?
Oh, well then. Yeah, acclaimed radio host. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, we're all eating crumbs off of Audie Cornish's table.
And they're going to bring you an impressive library of award-winning content like Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown and Stanley Tucci's Searching for Italy.
A lot of new content coming out of Anthony Bourdain.
So, really, it's the place to be to watch everything that you could ever want.
I like Stanley Tucci just fine. I think I probably hate every person who loves that show, though.
I don't. I've never seen it or know. I don't even know if I know anybody who's seen it. But I can't imagine how they will possibly create value through this streaming service.
Well, Anderson Cooper's going to be on it.
And fresh personality.
My goodness.
Seems incredible to me. I mean, I think in general, like, the streaming service market is a little saturated.
I don't I'm turned off by the Fox one too. I don't like. We don't.
Well, we don't subscribe. We like Fox, and we don't.
That said, I would
to
be
it.
Mr. Carlson if you are listening. I'm available for whatever you need.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there are a lot of people who'd be interested in watching a lot of the Tucker Carlson specials. Like, he does these specials. He had all these this exclusive footage from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. I mean,
don't-
but I think that's like, at least that's something original and new. And like the January 6th stuff he did, and like
that's
I
the
mean,
stuff that drove Steve Hayes away. The January 6th stuff.
3 million people watch him a night, and if even a small percentage of them, if even a 10th of a percentage of them go and sign up for a CNN or not CNN, a Fox News Today or Tucker Carlson Today, some kind of whatever the Fox News thing is that you sign up for, Fox Nation, is that what it is?
Yeah, I guess so.
Whatever you sign up for on Fox, like if even a tiny percent sign up, then like it makes sense financially. But like I don't know who would ever do this, like this CNN thing. Like I don't get it.
I think
I don't know who's signing up for Peacock either, and like any of these things. I don't get it.
Well, that content. I mean, I can't imagine. Like I have thought about subscribing to commentary
Okay.
because like they are really great. And I learn
Mm-hmm.
a lot from the podcast, and I like them. I like them all, and I think they're great thinkers and not lazy thinkers. I, being a hack, respect the people who put the real work in to thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I like the whole gang, and so I could possibly do that, and possibly, I would even possibly sign up for National Review. I like those guys.
Well, yeah, because there's like original thinkers who are putting
Mm-hmm.
out original content on there.
Right, and like but then I like Bridget Fetisi. And there's some people like we still don't. Do we subscribe to anybody right now? Oh, just there was a podcast.
We do the Rhino podcast.
The Rhino podcast. That's in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We
But-
subscribe to that one,
But
and
I mean, it is of course gross for me to ask people to pay for our podcast when I'm showing that I'm not paying for anybody else's podcast. But we have locals, so do we pay for somebody there, Jerry?
we pay for Jerry's show on Locals.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, but I think you should only subscribe to people if you feel like you're getting value from it.
Right.
I fully encourage you to not subscribe to our show and not buy our merchandise if it's not like bringing value to you. Don't.
I ask you to do it regardless.
If you don't want it.
Oh,
like,
that reminds me.
Don't give us money if you
That-
don't feel like you're getting value from
So
it.
we do subscribe to Jerry because I get
Yes.
him in locals.
Yes, we do.
Have you heard his show recently?
Not since like Callahan Coffee. I don't think. Why?
It's incredible. They have the production value
Mm-hmm.
and just like the energy. Something has happened to that show, and it never was bad. I've always liked it,
Mm-hmm.
but it sounds like there's been some. I think he's working with Mittman now, Bruce Mittman, and that whole thing.
Mhm.
Somebody there knows what they're doing.
You think it's an intern or you think it's Craig?
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, I don't know.
Well, so that's I think Graham is the intern. I think.
I
Is
don't
that
know.
right?
I was going to text Jerry today and said this show sounds like $1 million, but I didn't know if he would think I was being sarcastic or whatever. But it was like just the audio experience was just holy God, this is
That's cool.
this is cool. Maybe it is Craig, but holy, I didn't know you had it in him. I mean, but it sounds the Callahan podcast sounds like probably what it always should have sounded like.
That's great to
you
hear.
know.
I'm glad.
But of course, Cullinane sucks, so he could never make it sound this good. I'm just kidding. Cullinane's awesome. He's an awesome producer. But I was just, I'm taking a shot at him because we're in a
Would you like to address
Twitter spat.
any of your controversy
we're in a
or
Twitter
no?
spat. But Dave is an awesome producer and great with his fit with Kirk is obviously he's kind of a barstool guy, so that's great. But yeah, Dave was one of the best in the city. I think it was me. Obviously, was the best. And then Andy from The Big Show, and then who else was there? Me and Andy, and well, Cooksey was pretty good for a while at RKO.
What about Steve Robinson? Were you a Steve
Steve
Robinson
is good, although
fan?
I think Steve is good for Howie. Yeah, he was.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't know. Yeah, I guess he did run the board. I guess he
Who
did run
does
the board.
Cuner now? Or is it Sandy? Who does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, just
Jeff
curious.
Kuhner also has a show. That's correct. So what was that? Okay, the Shattuck Cullinane wars. That's right. What did he come? Oh, that's right. We got in trouble because I had Howie on. We talked about this yesterday, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Right. Got Howie on, and because I didn't spend my time grilling Howie about why Kathy killed his interview with Kirk.
Does it? So
But I've had it.
do they think you're sucking up to Howie? Is that what it's about?
Yes, and
Okay.
I have been accused of doing that for Jacqueline Cashman and Hillary Chabot when we did her radio together. They would always give me bleep immediately because my attitude, my personality would change when how I walked into the room, and they would always like call me, "You puss, Tom. That is so disgraceful that you are like so kissing up to Howie." But I love Howie.
You do love Howie,
right? He's a big star. This will be on a meme tomorrow. He was a huge influence in me getting into radio, and he was awesome, and he's fun to work with in person in real life. So
how's Kathy to work with in person?
Kathy is.
Is this where you're going to struggle for words again?
I've enjoyed Kathy in our time together, indeed. And
That's not exactly the glowing words you used for Howie.
What do you mean? I like no, it's different. Howie, I was a fan of. Kathy runs the business operation, so it's a different relationship. We've always been friendly, and we've had 1,000 million meetings together, and etc. But Howie was the guy in the radio who I listened to, who I couldn't believe was calling Ted Kennedy fat boy in the 80s when I was still told in school that you're to revere the Kennedys. And Ted's been through so much, and it's like this and that, and life has been so hard, and he's lost his brother. And then I get to the radio, and here's a guy calling him fat boy. I was like, he can't call that man fat boy. And Howie went down to cover the William Anthony Smith rape case with Ted. He was drunk with Patrick, whatever, and he was so irreverent and cruel. And I was like, you're not supposed to be saying this message. This is awful. I am offended, etc. And then Howie would do. And then when VB joined Howie, that was it. The show became saying stuff you shouldn't be saying, and it was just so incredible. We can't even say the stuff that some of the stuff they said, but I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly. I remember my dad laughing in the car, me and my dad being in the car, and Howie reading a news article about how in a coyote den. Sorry, Toast, you're not gonna like this. How in a coyote den, a whole bunch of different color and style cat collars were found. Because, unfortunately, Mr. Boots had wandered into the wrong area and the coyotes had feasted on them or whatever. And I remember my dad laughing so much. It was just that, and Howie laughing too. And it was so forbidden and so mean that you would like do that. And I was just hooked. I was like, this is what you got to be doing. So there you go. And
so you just like fan. You're just a fan. So when you talk to Howie, you can't play.
No, well, I mean, it's interviewing Howie on the substance, but but I have wanted to be. When I got into WRKO, I said I'm going to get in that guy's atmosphere because he was the best at talk radio. You know, until my new friend Kirk Minahan came around, as a matter of fact. And now, but Kirk has a lot of that too. Kirk was one time when Kirk was just sitting in with John and Jerry, and he was just getting to be a little bit known. They had this guy from jail on, and John and Jerry were asking about how jail works and this and that and this and that. And Kirk said, "Have you enjoyed the company of a man since you've been in there?" And I was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible! This is incredible!" And the guy asked him. The guy actually answered the question, but for Kirk to bring it there was like, that's the question. Like
everybody's wondering,
right?
But is afraid to ask,
right? But this one dude asks the best question, and I'm like, I remember stopping where I was. This is around the time that we were just gotten to Melrose, and thinking, this is incredible. This dude is plugged in to next level radio, where just when you think you're fine, you've hit a plane and it's comfortable, there's the next level up that's not comfortable anymore, but it's a freaking spectacle, and he's got the balls to go there. So I'd like that to be in the meme, Dave, please. That testimonial.
Dave, please show that clip to Kirk so that Kirk likes Tom again.
I love how you're used. You know what I wanted to say is, remember what Marion Barry said? You don't remember probably. the D.C. mayor, Marion Barry, in the late 80s, was caught with doing crack with a prostitute on camera in an FBI sting.
Okay.
Which was great. He actually then went to jail, then came back out, and then won mayor again. But anyway, when he was caught, you could hear him on tape. When the FBI busts in, he looks over to the prostitute and said, "Bitch set me up," which was like probably, if the FBI is kicking down the door and you're about to be busted, maybe don't say that too. So of course that was the thing, whatever. So I was gonna say that's what happened with that meme. I was set up by my own wife, who put me on the spot in a tough spot.
I just asked the tough
She
questions.
made it a botched spot. All right, homie, are you done?
I'm all set.
All right, well then I'm all set too. I'm gonna hit the.
Plus, we have to pick up our daughter from play practice.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm gonna hit the button.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you want to buy your Shathead merch or your Burn Bro or Burn Babe merch, you can head to burnbarrelpodcast.com, and there's a shop link on there. All the merch is there, so you can find that. You can always, if you don't feel like buying merch, find us for free on Twitter, where we are at burnbarrelpod, or facebook.com/burnbarrelpodcast. Also at burnbarrelpodcast.com, there's links to all the different places you can listen wherever you like to listen to podcasts.